I never thought my 18th birthday would turn out like this. But I guess I should start from the beginning, tell you who I am and how everything led to that day that changed my life forever. My name is Sarah, and I've always felt like the second best daughter in my own family. It's a strange feeling when you grow up knowing that your mother has another child she loves more than you. My half-sister Jessica is 10 years older than me, and she's always been my mother's favorite. I saw it in every little thing, how Mom's eyes would light up when Jessica called, how she'd drop everything to talk to her, how she kept Jessica's childhood photos prominently displayed while mine were tucked away in albums. "Mom, when is Jessie coming to visit?" I remember asking when I was 8 years old, tugging at my mother's sleeve while she was talking on the phone with Jessica. "Not now, Sarah," she'd say, waving me away. "Your sister is very busy with college." That was always the answer. Jessica was busy with college, then with her career, then with her life in another state. But Mom would visit her regularly, leaving me behind with my dad, who tried his best to make up for my mother's emotional absence. Every time Jessica called, Mom would immediately excuse herself from whatever we were doing, even if we were in the middle of dinner or watching a movie together. Once, she even left my school play halfway through because Jessica called with important news. The news? Jessica had bought a new car. The story of our family is complicated. My mother was married before, had Jessica, then divorced and married my father. When I was born, Jessica was already 10. I barely remember her living with us. She left for college when I was 8 and never really came back home. But even during those 8 years, the difference in how Mom treated us was clear as day. Jessica got new clothes while I got hand-me-downs. Jessica's achievements were celebrated with parties, while mine got a simple good job if I was lucky. My father was my rock, the one person who made me feel truly loved and wanted. He'd always make time for me, help with my homework, attend my school events, and just listen when I needed to talk. But then, 3 years ago, everything changed. He died unexpectedly, and with him went the last barrier between me and my mother's cold indifference. The change in her was dramatic. If before she'd occasionally show me affection, after Dad's death, she became distant, sometimes not speaking to me for days. Thank God for my grandfather, my dad's father. He stepped in when Dad died, becoming my primary support system. He's the kind of grandfather who remembers every important date, shows up to every school event, and always has a warm smile ready for me. When Mom would leave town to visit Jessica, sometimes for weeks at a time, he'd make sure I wasn't alone. As my 18th birthday approached, I decided to keep things simple. No wild parties or elaborate celebrations, just a family gathering at our house. Despite everything, I still wanted to try to bring our fractured family together. Maybe, I thought naively, turning 18 would finally make Mom see me as an adult worthy of her attention. I spent a week planning everything. Grandfather had given me $1,000 to organize the celebration, and I was determined to prove I could handle it like an adult. I bought all the food myself, ordered a beautiful cake, and decorated the house. I made sure to get all Mom's favorite dishes, hoping it would make her happy. I even called Jessica, hoping that maybe, just maybe, she'd want to be there for this important milestone in my life. "Hey, Jess," I said when she picked up, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm having a small birthday party next weekend. Would you like to come?" "Oh, Sarah," she replied, her voice distant and cold. "I've got my own things going on, can't make it, sorry." Click, she hung up before I could even respond. I stood there, holding my phone, feeling that familiar ache in my chest. What had I ever done to make her dislike me so much? Was it just because I was the child from Mom's second marriage? Or was there something fundamentally wrong with me? But the real blow came the next morning at breakfast. Mom walked into the kitchen while I was going over my party checklist one last time, making sure everything would be perfect. "Sarah, I need to tell you something," she said, not even looking at me as she poured her coffee. "I won't be at your party tomorrow. Jessica just bought a new apartment, and she's having a housewarming party tomorrow. I'm leaving tonight to help her prepare." The world seemed to stop for a moment. "Mom, it's my 18th birthday, I said, my voice barely a whisper. The housewarming can wait, can't it? She finally looked at me, her eyes cold. I've already decided. Jessica's housewarming is more important to me. She's more important to me. You're old enough to understand that. The words hit me like physical blows. I'd always known, deep down, that Mom loved Jessica more, but hearing her say it so bluntly. I ran to my room, tears streaming down my face, my breakfast forgotten on the kitchen table. Through my tears, I could hear her packing her suitcase in the next room, humming cheerfully as if she hadn't just shattered my heart. Through my tears, I made one last desperate attempt. I called Jessica again, hoping she might help, hoping that maybe, just maybe, she had a shred of sisterly feeling for me. Jessica, please, I said into the phone, trying to keep my voice from breaking. Can't you reschedule your housewarming party? It's my 18th birthday. Sorry, sis, she replied, her voice completely devoid of sympathy. My boyfriend can only make it tomorrow. He's leaving for a business trip the next day. I took a deep breath, gripping the phone tighter. Then could you at least ask Mom to stay? She's choosing your housewarming over my birthday. Don't you think that's wrong? There was a short laugh on the other end of the line. Look, Sarah, I wouldn't do that even if I wanted to. And I don't want to. Mom's always loved me more than you, that's just how it is. You need to accept it and move on. Stop trying to change things that can't be changed. With that, she hung up, leaving me with nothing but the dial tone and my shattered hopes. I sat on my bed, feeling numb, as I heard Mom moving around downstairs, humming happily as she packed her suitcase. The sound of her joy at leaving me felt like a knife in my heart. Then her voice called up, Sarah, I'm leaving for the station now. You're an adult, you can handle the party yourself. I'll be gone for a week. The front door slammed before I could even respond. Through my bedroom window, I watched as she got into a taxi, not even glancing back at the house. She was checking her phone, probably texting Jessica, a smile on her face as the taxi drove away. And just like that, I was alone. I spent that evening, the last evening of my childhood, sitting in our empty house, surrounded by the decorations I'd put up with such hope. The birthday cake I'd ordered sat in the fridge, and party snacks were laid out on the kitchen counter, ready for tomorrow. The balloons I'd inflated bobbed gently in the air conditioning, casting strange shadows on the walls. Everything looked perfect, except it wasn't. The two people who should have cared the most about my birthday had chosen to be somewhere else. The morning of my birthday dawned bright and clear, as if nature was mocking my mood. I got up early to make final preparations for the party, forcing myself to put on a brave face. I checked the food one last time, adjusted the decorations, and tried to practice my smile in the mirror. I didn't want my guests to see how hurt I was. Around noon, guests started arriving, my Aunt Clara, Mom's sister, with my cousins, some of Dad's relatives, and finally, Grandfather. Happy birthday, sweetheart, Aunt Clara hugged me tight, her familiar perfume reminding me of happier family gatherings. Then she looked around, her smile faltering. Where's your mother? I swallowed hard, my practiced smile threatening to crack. She went to Jessica's housewarming party. In another state. The room went silent. Aunt Clara's mouth fell open, and I saw my cousins exchange shocked looks. The atmosphere suddenly became thick with tension. She what? My aunt asked, clearly stunned. Her hands were still on my shoulders, and I could feel them tighten with surprise. Left yesterday, I managed to say, fighting back tears. Said Jessica's housewarming was more important. She'll be gone for a week. Grandfather's face darkened, and I saw something flash in his eyes that I'd never seen before, a mixture of anger and determination. He pulled me into a tight hug, and I could feel his anger and how tense he was. Well, he said loudly, his voice cutting through the uncomfortable silence, I think it's time for me to make an announcement. Once everyone was settled in the living room, Grandfather cleared his throat. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, making his silver hair shine. First, I want to say how proud I am of Sarah. She got into college on a full scholarship, just like her father would have wanted. He paused as everyone applauded, then continued, but that's not my main announcement. As you all know, this house belongs to me. I nodded along with everyone else. This was common knowledge. Grandfather had let us live here for years, even before Dad died. I'd always been grateful for his generosity. Today, he continued, his voice strong and clear, I want to announce my decision regarding my will. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope, the paper crisp and official looking. Sarah, this house is now yours. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I stared at him, sure I'd misheard, my heart pounding in my chest. What? I've already completed all the paperwork. As of today, your 18th birthday, you are the legal owner of this house. He handed me the envelope, his hand steady, his eyes twinkling. And that's not all. When I pass, though I hope that won't be for many years yet, you'll inherit my estate, including my own house and $500,000. I sat there, stunned, the envelope trembling in my hands. The room erupted in applause and congratulations, but it all felt distant, unreal, like I was watching it happen to someone else. I opened the envelope with shaking fingers, and there it was, my name on the deed to our house, the legal language making it official and undeniable. Grandpa, I whispered, tears welling up in my eyes, are you sure? This is too much. He took my hand in his grip warm and reassuring. You're my only granddaughter, Sarah. You're the one who deserves this. You're the one who's stayed, who's cared, who's shown real family values. I know exactly what I'm doing. Your father would be proud of the woman you've become. The party turned into a celebration I never expected. For the first time that day, my tears were from joy, not sadness. As my relatives congratulated me and shared stories about my father, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. I felt like I belonged. I woke up early the next morning, my head still spinning from yesterday's events. The house was quiet, still decorated from the party, and now, incredibly, it was mine. I walked through the rooms, touching the walls, looking at everything with new eyes. The family photos on the walls, the worn spot on the carpet where Dad used to sit in his favorite chair, the little mark on the kitchen doorframe where he'd measured my height every year. It wasn't just the house I grew up in anymore, it was my house. I was making coffee, breathing in the familiar morning scent that reminded me of peaceful breakfasts with Dad, when my phone rang. My heart skipped a beat when I saw it was Mom calling. She didn't even wait for me to say hello. Sarah, is it true? What Aunt Clara told me about Grandpa's gift and his will. Her voice was breathless, urgent. No happy birthday, no apology for missing my party, just straight to the inheritance. I could hear the barely contained excitement in her voice. I gripped my coffee mug tighter, watching the steam rise from the dark liquid. Yes, it's true, but why are you calling, Mom? Weren't you supposed to stay with Jessica for a week? Wasn't her housewarming party more important? She laughed, a high, artificial sound that made my skin crawl. Oh, sweetheart, I've been thinking about you nonstop. I feel terrible about missing your birthday. I'm coming home today, I've already bought my ticket. We have so much to talk about. Don't rush back on my account, I said, surprised by how steady my voice was. You should stay with your favorite daughter. After all, that's what you said I was old enough to understand. Sarah, she sounded shocked. Don't say things like that. I love both my daughters equally. You're just being sensitive. I almost laughed at how quickly she'd forgotten her words from just 2 days ago. Really? Because you literally told me Jessica was more important to you when you left for her housewarming party. Or have you forgotten that conversation already? You're twisting my words, she protested, her voice taking on that wheedling tone she used when she wanted something. I'll be home this evening, and we can talk about everything. Including your wonderful inheritance. This is such an exciting time for our family. After hanging up, I sat at the kitchen table, my coffee going cold, watching the morning sun cast shadows through the window. I knew why she was really coming back: the house, the future inheritance. Suddenly I was worth paying attention to. Suddenly I was important enough for her to cut short her precious visit with Jessica. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Hey sis. Hope you had a great birthday. I sent you a nice gift by courier, should arrive soon. Miss you." I stared at the message in disbelief, reading it over and over. In all my 18 years, Jessica had never sent me a birthday gift. She'd never even wished me happy birthday before. It was painfully obvious that she'd heard about the inheritance too. The sudden change in both of them was so transparent it would have been funny if it hadn't hurt so much. Mom arrived that evening, bursting through the door with a big smile and open arms. "Sarah, darling," she exclaimed, hugging me tightly, her designer perfume overwhelming my senses. "Happy birthday. I'm so sorry I missed your party, but I'm just so proud of you. My little girl, all grown up and so successful. A homeowner at 18, just imagine." I stood stiffly in her embrace, remembering how she'd left without a backward glance just 2 days ago. She pulled back, still beaming, and started rattling off compliments about how mature I was, how well I'd done in school, how proud she was of my full scholarship. Each word felt calculated, rehearsed, like she'd practiced them on the train ride home. "I'll make your favorite dinner tonight," she announced, heading to the kitchen with the air of someone who thought they were being incredibly clever. "To celebrate your birthday and your inheritance. I'm thinking chicken parmesan. That's still your favorite, right?" There it was, the real reason for her return. And she'd gotten it wrong. Chicken parmesan was Jessica's favorite, not mine. I preferred Dad's recipe for lasagna, something Mom would have known if she'd ever paid attention. "Isn't it a bit late for birthday celebrations?" I asked, following her into the kitchen. "You made your priorities clear when you left. Jessica's more important, remember?" "Oh, sweetheart, don't be like that," she said, pulling pots and pans from the cupboards with forced cheerfulness. "You know I love you. I just had to help your sister with her housewarming, she needed me. You know how she gets about these things. And I didn't? It was my 18th birthday, Mom. A once-in-a-lifetime event." She waved her hand dismissively, not meeting my eyes. "You're more mature than Jessica was at your age, I knew you could handle it." She paused, then added with a sly smile, "Besides, now that you own the house, you're quite the independent woman. We should celebrate that too." I felt sick. "So that's why you're really back? Because I own the house now?" "Sarah," she looked offended, pressing a hand to her chest dramatically. "How can you think that? I'm back because I love you. The house doesn't matter to me at all, you're my daughter." But I couldn't believe her anymore. That night, I went to bed early, but I couldn't sleep. The events of the past few days kept spinning through my mind. Around midnight, I got up to get some water and heard Mom's voice from the living room. She was on the phone, obviously thinking I was asleep. "Listen, Jessica," she was saying, her voice low but clear. "We need to be very nice to Sarah now. She owns the house, and with the old fools will leaving her all that money. Yes, I know it's a lot of money, but we have to be smart about this." I froze in the hallway, my heart pounding, my hand gripping the wall for support. "Yes, I know," Mom continued, unaware she had an audience. "We need to make her trust us again. You need to be the perfect big sister now. Send her gifts, call her regularly, you know how to play it. Once she trusts us, we can work on getting that money from her. Maybe convince her to invest in your business idea? She's naive enough to fall for it." I stepped into the doorway, deliberately making the floorboard creak. Mom spun around, her face going pale when she saw me standing there. The phone slipped from her fingers onto the couch. "Sarah," she gasped, quickly ending the call. You misunderstood what you heard. I was just..." "Did I?" My voice was ice cold. "I think I understood perfectly. You and Jessica finally found a use for your unwanted daughter." I didn't wait for Mom to make up more excuses. My hands were trembling with a mixture of anger and hurt, but I went straight to the phone and called Grandfather. He answered on the second ring, and despite the late hour, he said he'd be right over. I could hear him already getting his keys as we spoke. "Sarah, please," Mom followed me around the house as I waited, her voice taking on that manipulative tone I'd heard her use so many times when she wanted something. "You're taking this all wrong. I was just trying to help Jessica with her business. As a family, we should support each other. Why are you being so difficult about this?" I turned to face her, really seeing her for the first time, the calculated concern in her eyes, the way she held herself, ready to switch tactics at a moment's notice. "Family? Is that what you call this? Plotting to manipulate me for money? Calling grandfather an old fool and planning to trick me into giving away my inheritance?" "You're being dramatic," she said, her tone shifting from pleading to irritated in an instant. "This is exactly why I've always found it easier with Jessica. She understands how family works. She knows sometimes we need to help each other financially." "You're acting like a child." "No, she understands how you work," I shot back, feeling years of suppressed anger finally breaking free. "You both do. It's always been about what you can get from people, hasn't it? That's why you married Dad, because he had money. That's why you stayed after he died, because of this house. Was there ever a moment when you actually loved either of us?" Mom's face turned red with anger. "How dare you?" The doorbell interrupted her, and I rushed to let grandfather in. He took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. His eyes hardened as they moved past me to Mom, whose expression changed instantly, becoming sweet and concerned, like flipping a switch. "Dad," she started, but grandfather cut her off with a raised hand. "I heard everything from Sarah on the phone," he said, his voice hard and cold. "I've known for years what kind of person you are, Margaret. I let you stay in this house after my son died only for Sarah's sake. I hoped you might finally step up and be a real mother to her." I stood there, watching my mother's face change as her masks fell away one by one. She looked from me to grandfather, realizing she was losing control of the situation. The transformation was incredible, like watching a stranger emerge from behind a familiar face. "You're an old fool," she spat at grandfather, her true nature finally showing through completely. "You think you're so clever with your will and your gift to Sarah? She's just a child, she doesn't know how to handle that kind of money. She needs guidance from her family." "She's more mature and responsible than you'll ever be," grandfather replied calmly, putting his arm around my shoulders. "And now, Sarah, as the owner of this house, you have a decision to make. You don't have to let toxic people stay in your life, even if they're family. Especially if they're family." I looked at my mother, really looked at her. I saw the calculation in her eyes, the way she was already trying to figure out how to turn this situation to her advantage. I thought about all the years of feeling second best, all the missed birthdays, all the times she'd chosen Jessica over me. I thought about her leaving for Jessica's housewarming party, about her cruel words, about her plotting with Jessica to take advantage of me. "I want you to leave," I said quietly, but firmly. "This isn't your home anymore. It never really was." Mom didn't go quietly. For 2 days, she ranted and raved, called me ungrateful, selfish, cruel. She brought up every sacrifice she claimed to have made for me, every moment she'd put up with raising me. She threatened to contest grandfather's will, to sue for her rights as a tenant, to make my life miserable. She tried guilt, anger, fake tears, and finally, threats. But in the end, she had no choice. The house was mine, legally and officially, and she had to go. After she left, I heard through family that she moved to Jessica's state. They tried calling and texting me a few times over the next months, always with sweet words about family reconciliation and how much they missed me. Each message was carefully crafted to make me feel guilty, to make me question my decision. But I blocked their numbers. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way, and some toxic relationships are better left in the past. Grandfather helped me settle into my new life as a homeowner. He taught me about property taxes, home maintenance, and all the responsibilities that came with owning a house. I started college that fall, still living in my house, but spending plenty of time at grandfather's place too. We had Sunday dinners together every week, and he taught me about managing money and property. More importantly, he showed me what unconditional love really looked like. "Your father would be so proud of you," he told me one evening as we sat on his porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. "You're stronger than you know, Sarah. You stood up for yourself when it mattered most." I thought about everything that had happened since my 18th birthday. In just a few months, my whole world had changed. I'd lost a mother and sister, but in a way, I'd never really had them to begin with. What I did have was a grandfather who loved me unconditionally, a home of my own, and the freedom to build my life on my own terms. I had the truth, painful as it was, and the strength to face it. "You know what, Grandpa?" I said, squeezing his hand as we watched the last rays of sunlight fade. "I think Dad would be proud of both of us. You did what he would have wanted, you protected me, not just with the inheritance, but by helping me see the truth. Sometimes the family you're born with isn't the family you end up with, and that's okay. Sometimes it takes losing the wrong people to make room for the right ones." As I sat there with my grandfather, watching the sky turn from pink and gold to deep purple, I knew I'd be all right. I was finally free to be myself, without trying to earn love from people who were incapable of giving it.